Welcome to our Parent Empowerment Program webinar. I am Theresa Venter, founder of the Little Performers Program at Step Ahead Educare, and I will be your host for the day. Today's topic is Am I as a parent on track when it comes to bonding and connecting with my child? So we had this workshop take place last week on Wednesday, and it was presented on the 28th of June by Dr. Edwin Debroize. And today with us we have Dr. Edwin Debroize, who has his PhD in psychology and who is also a clinical psychologist. We also have Charlene Venter with us, who is the owner of Step Ahead Educare and who is also an occupational therapist herself and has special needs as her background as well. And then we have Mr. Leslie Selbourne, who has his bachelor in sacred theology and has a diploma in philosophy as well. He also done 3 years community work in Manenberg. So on that note, I would like to ask Mr. Leslie Selbourne, what is this parent empowerment program all about?
Thank you very much, Theresa, and good morning to all our viewers and to all the panelists. I'm so proud to be able to tell you more about this parent empowerment program because this is an initiative from the owners of Step Ahead Educare. And the program's aim, Theresa, is to create and present workshops to parents who have children at ECD level, thus babies to about 6 years of age. We invite professionals like Dr. Edwin to come and talk on various topics and themes pertaining to early childhood development. And through these workshops, we hope to empower parents with the necessary information, knowledge, tools, and skills, helping them to understand and learn what their children are going through as they're growing up.
Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Selbourne, can you please tell us, is this program only for parents whose learners attending Step Ahead Educare, or is it for other parents as well?
No, this is not just for parents at Step Ahead, but to any parent out there who may be in real need of help and guidance to become better parents, guidance on what to do and how to become a good mother or a good father. So every parent who has a child 6 years and younger should benefit from this initiative.
Okay, thank you so much. And then to Dr. Debroize, I would like to ask you, please tell us a bit more about attachment and the importance of this topic.
Can you just repeat that question? But before you do that, I just want to say good morning to the team that's on the air right now and to say hello to all the listeners. And I hope that what we say will be beneficial. Could you please just repeat the question for me?
Okay, so please elaborate on the topic of attachment. Why is it so important? Why do we need to know about this?
Oh, in a nutshell, there are two aspects to attachment. One is the process of socialization, and the other one is of emotional growth and maturity. Parents have to pay attention to how kids socialize within the family and within the community, like where they would be attending at your school, how they relate to one another, and to try and build healthy socializing habits. Emotionally, parents need to be very attentive to the emotional development of children because, we know that kids get angry, kids can be violent, etc. And to stabilize and calm children at a very early age and to teach them how to manage their emotions is what attachment is all about. So to remember, there are two aspects to attachment, one being the socialization and the other one is the emotional maturity.
Okay, thank you. And then can you please explain some of the factors that interrupt attachment?
Well, there are internal factors and there are external factors. The external factors could be what the parents themselves have experienced. We know that many parents experience trauma, have been victims of violence, We know that some home environments are unstable, and that socializing within the family is difficult. We also know that sometimes parents are totally unavailable to the children. Those are some of the external factors that make it difficult for children to attach. But then you also have the internal factors that make it difficult for the kids to attach. And that would include factors between the parents or in the family where there is depression, where there is violence, where there is anger, where the kid is being ignored, where the parents are callous, where the parents are unloving. And I think this is important when the parents are not present. And I'm not talking about a physical presence, I'm talking about a presence that also means attention. So that when something goes wrong, the parents must be present.
Okay, thank you so much. And can you share with us some practical examples of what it means to be a sensitive caregiver?
Some examples of being a sensitive caregiver are, you know, remember as we were all growing up, when a child gets hurt, mommy comes and kisses it and makes it better. Now let's use that as our umbrella term. What does kiss and make it better mean? Kiss means to look at the child, to attend to what the child is complaining or crying about, to be present for the child, to validate whatever the child might be crying or complaining about, to be calming as a parent, to help the child regulate their emotions, and that's to calm them, and to be reassuring. Those are some of the factors that indicate that the parent is sensitive. But I think that most important is be present and attentive to the child.
Okay, thank you. And then how can we ensure that we are playing a significant role in stabilizing our children's emotions?
Well, one of the things that I spoke about at our training was those experiments. And I know that experiments can sometimes be a little aloof. But the important thing that was stated in those experiments by Mary Ainsworth was the idea of proximity. So, proximity, when a parent has to be around a child and be present and not, you've heard stories of children crying in a cot or crying in bed for hours at a time without parents being attentive. So, I would say proximity is a very important thing. I think body contact is a really important thing. I think that parents play a role in calming and reassuring. But I also think that we need to validate. Sometimes parents will say, "Oh, die kind huil nou vir niks." It's not what it is. I think that crying, we need to understand the message behind that. You know, kids don't have the language that we have, and so we must tune in to the language that the kids speak, and that is crying, cooing, and babbling, and so forth. Now, remember, on a computer, if you don't switch it on and tune into the computer, you won't know what it is. If you don't tune into the child, you will not know what the child is complaining about. So don't reprimand the child, and be quick to step in when there is an emotional outburst, like in those cases. So those are just some of the ways in which one can step in, but I would underline the idea of proximity and attentiveness.
Okay, thank you so much. I can just move over to Charlene, who can give us more of a context of an ECT, maybe from that perspective. So for Charlene, for parents who may be wondering, my child is at daycare. What does this mean? Does this mean attachment to parents may be less? If you can answer that
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Theresa, for the question. I think it is a very valid question, especially if you, as a parent, are familiar with the importance of attachment. So definitely they can form attachments with other caregivers as well, strong attachments. But the parents remain the primary attachment source. So that's important. And as Dr. Edwin explained now, that role that the parent plays cannot be replaced. However, as the modern day and life we're living in, most children need to be at daycare centers, ECD centers. So caregivers definitely provide that attachment source for them. That is why it is so important that parents actually research, especially the infant groups and the turnover of staff, because children need to feel that attachment and the consistency of a caregiver's method. The key things are being, like Dr. Edwin said now, being present, um, um, responding to the children when they make a sound or there's a cue for a need, and just being reassuring and all of those things. And most caregivers and especially trained ECD teachers are aware of that. But I think parents need to do proper research when they do actually enroll children in just any daycare center. So they can form many attachments, positive attachments. Yes.
Okay. And then tell me, what is the relationship between sensory processing and attachment difficulties?
Okay, so there is a relationship. Sensory processing actually refers to the body's ability to receive sensory information obviously through the senses, and then pass it through to the nervous system, and then obviously the appropriate responses are then coming from there. So babies and children are all the time, they learn through their senses, as we know, and they learn about their world through the senses. Playing and interacting with others around them stimulates the senses, and it creates an engagement with others, which forms a platform from which they see the world and relate to it. And we know this. So therefore, sensory processing difficulties can exist when, for me, they can exist on its own for many, many reasons. But there is a link with early trauma, obviously, and experience of early trauma that the child may have, which will then filter over into their sensory processing, which it can in fact affect all their daily functions. But it can, sensory processing doesn't always mean that there were attachment difficulties. It can present on its own. However, it's something to always keep in mind, especially when you're working with an infant that has been traumatized through some or other experiences. Normally, the psychologists are most well equipped to deal with those trauma incidences, and but occupational therapists who are trained in sensory integration also have a role to play. Then it happens in conjunction with the parent, obviously, and obviously continuous feedback to the psychologist. So yeah, there is a link, strong link. Thank you.
Thank you. And then what are the conditions that ensure that you raise a securely attached child?
Well, I think Dr. Edwin has actually lingered onto many of them already, but just to name some of them, and again, these are aspects that must be considered when you are enrolling your child in an ECD center. Obviously, the child needs to feel safe. We see now the child needs to feel that the person looking after them wants to protect them, so this gives them a feeling of safety. The child needs to feel seen and known. So like I said earlier, just being mindful of and tuned into their cues, like we said earlier, the babbling and the cooing and the crying, all of those things actually are there for a reason. And if the child can start realizing that when they make these sounds, they are heard, they are seen, and if I do this, my need is met, the child is feeling a sense of I am known and I am understood. And then also the child needs to feel comforted and reassured, as was mentioned earlier as well. And with a reassurance, it's that child feeling, when I am distressed, I can run to someone and somebody will give me that sense of calmness. And that, in fact, will then teach the child to regulate themselves later on, their emotions. So they understand that I will get distressed, but somebody will help to calm me down. Whether it's rocking the baby, the child understands that that feeling is soothing, whether it's just talking to them and giving them a sense of calm, very important. And then another one is the child must feel valued. So in their surrounding or their setting, they need to feel valued. So they need to feel, they need to be praised. and that will give them a good sense of self-esteem as well, which is one of the tools that you need to be, socialize well and function well as an adult. And then also the child needs to feel supported to explore. That's a big one. Because if a child is constantly things are being done for them and they're made to feel incompetent, they can start losing faith in who they are and their abilities. So it's important that you create a space where your child feels that they are exploring, that they may explore in a safe space, and at the same time feel that they can accomplish things. And that also instills a sense of confidence again, but also develop their independence. So those are things that we allow for in an ECD center. Pre-exploration in a safe space. We correct them and we allow them to make a mistake, and we say, oh, we try again. So it's a constant trial and error, and allowing the child that space. So that those are important factors that contribute to the conditions that the child needs for strong attachment in the early years. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Charlene. So, Mr. Selbourne, if you can just tell us, why are we doing this parent empowerment program?
Yes, Theresa, the why question is a very important question. There is no manual on how to be a good and perfect parent, like there is on how to be a good driver or a pilot. Parents learn through their experiences, and many younger parents will consult their mom or dad on what to do when encountering certain situations with their children, and that is okay. For example, as a young parent, when I was still young and handsome, I thought that in order to gain my child's love, I must just give and buy them presents and gifts all the time. But I have also come to realize that my child needs my presence, like Dr. Edwin pointed out. He needs my hugs and he needs my time to play with. Thus, this program's, Theresa's, the vision is to create a community of informed parents. The more parents we reach, the more homes we can heal, we can restore broken relationships and rebuild trust, thus creating healthier and happier environments for our children. And that is so important. Thus contributing to building a better South Africa at the end. So this program for parents is such a vital program, and it is open to any parent.
Thank you so much, and I commend you for this initiative because it's really going to make a difference within our community. Thank you. Thank you all for being part of this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Theresa.
Thank you.